What if you could murder in front of hundreds of witnesses and get away with it? It sounds impossible, right? In New York City, a millionaire shot a famous architect in cold blood, right in the middle of a packed theater. We're talking an open and shut case. At least, that's what everyone thought. But what happened in that courtroom didn't just defy expectations. It stunned the entire nation and changed legal history forever. So how did a crime committed in plain sight lead to one of the most brilliant and controversial defenses of all time? Picture this. It's a warm summer night in 1906. You're on the glittering rooftop of Madison Square Garden, a stunning theater designed by the man of the hour, the celebrity architect Stanford White. New York's high society is out for the premiere of a new musical, Mam'selle Champagne. In the crowd are Harry Thaw, a massively rich heir to a railroad fortune, and his wife, the actress and model Evelyn Nesbit, whose face was famous across the country. But beneath all the glamour, something dark was about to boil over. As the show hit its finale, Thaw, oddly wearing a heavy overcoat, calmly walked to Stanford White's table. He pulled out a pistol and fired 3 shots right in White's face. Pandemonium. As White lay dead, Thaw met his wife by the elevator and said the 5 words that would kick off a media frenzy. "I did it because he ruined my wife." To get why this happened, you have to understand the toxic love triangle at the center of it all. The victim, Stanford White, was basically a Gilded Age rock star. At 52, he was one of America's greatest architects, the genius behind landmarks that shaped New York. But he had a secret life. He was a notorious womanizer with a thing for pursuing very young women. The shooter was Harry Thaw. He was swimming in money, but was also deeply unstable and famously reckless. He was consumed by jealousy and a paranoid belief that White was trying to keep him out of New York's high society. And caught between them was Evelyn Nesbit. She came to New York as a teen to model and quickly became the original it girl. That's when she met the 46-year-old Stanford White. She was only about 16 at the time. He became her protector and her lover, showing her a world of unbelievable luxury. But their relationship started with a dark secret. Evelyn would later testify that in his apartment, famous for its mirrored room and a red velvet swing, White got her drunk on champagne and assaulted her while she was unconscious. After that affair ended, the obsessive and volatile Harry Thaw came into her life. He chased her relentlessly. She was put off by his erratic behavior at first, but he eventually wore her down, and they got married in 1905. But Thaw was absolutely haunted by Evelyn's past with White. He made her tell him every single detail of her time with the man he called the Beast. His hatred grew into a dangerous obsession that finally exploded on that rooftop. After the shooting, the path to justice looked like a straight line. The district attorney, William Travers Jerome, had a prosecutor's dream. A crime committed in front of almost 1,000 people. Thaw was arrested on the spot, with the gun still on him. He hadn't just confessed, he'd shouted his motive for everyone to hear. This wasn't just a slam-dunk case. It was the very definition of premeditated murder. The papers immediately called it the trial of the century, and everyone figured Thaw was headed straight for the electric chair. Thaw was locked up on Murderer's Row, and the whole thing seemed like a formality. The prosecution's plan was as simple as it gets. Present the mountain of evidence, the eyewitnesses, and Thaw's own words. The question wasn't if Harry Thaw killed Stanford White, but what his punishment would be. The thought that he could walk free seemed completely impossible. Just when the story seemed written, the defense team rolled out a strategy so bold, so completely unexpected, that it sent a shockwave across America. Thaw's mother was determined to save her son, and she spent a fortune hiring the best lawyers in the country. They knew a standard insanity plea wouldn't work, so they came up with something new, something dramatic, temporary insanity. They claimed that Harry Thaw had suffered from a brainstorm, a sudden, violent, and temporary break from reality. This wasn't a claim that he was always insane, just that he had a fleeting moment of madness brought on by one specific thing: learning about Stanford White's assault on his wife, Evelyn. The strategy was both brilliant and incredibly cynical. Suddenly, the trial wasn't about Harry Thaw, the murderer. It was about Stanford White, the predator. The defense's plan was to put the dead man on trial. They painted White as a monster who preyed on innocent girls. In this story, Thaw wasn't a cold-blooded killer. He was a hero, a husband defending his wife's honor. His lead attorney even coined a special term for it: dementia Americana. He argued it was a uniquely American type of madness, a righteous fury any husband would feel to protect his wife's purity. It was a defense built on melodrama, not medicine. The first trial kicked off in January 1907, and it instantly became the biggest show in town. In what was one of the first and most famous instances in U.S. history, the jury was sequestered to protect them from the insane media coverage. The star of the show was Evelyn Nesbit. For days, she had the courtroom totally captivated. Coached by the defense, she played the part of the tragic victim perfectly. When she described the night of her assault, she did it with so much emotion that she actually collapsed on the stand, whispering, "I can't go on." It was pure theater, and it worked. Her testimony brilliantly shifted the jury's focus from Thaw's crime to White's character. She described her husband sobbing in anguish when she finally told him her story. The prosecution fought back, calling Thaw a cold-blooded, deliberate, cowardly murder. They begged the jury not to be fooled just because his lying wife has a pretty girl's face. But the defense's story was just too powerful. After 47 hours, the jury was deadlocked. 7 jurors voted guilty, but 5, completely won over by the story of honor and revenge, voted not guilty by reason of insanity. A second trial was scheduled for the next year. This time, everyone knew the game had changed. The defense pushed the insanity angle even harder. The prosecution, probably realizing they'd never get a murder-one conviction against a sympathetic public, didn't fight as hard. It felt like a compromise was coming. On February 1st, 1908, the second jury came back with the verdict: not guilty by reason of insanity. Harry Thaw, the man who shot someone in front of 1,000 people, was legally acquitted of murder. The courtroom was stunned. Thaw actually thought he was going to walk out a free man right then. But the judge wasn't having it. Declaring Thaw dangerous to public safety, he ordered him locked up in the Madison State Hospital for the criminally insane. Thaw's story didn't end there. Thanks to his money, he lived like a king inside the asylum. He escaped in 1913 and fled to Canada, but was eventually sent back. In 1915, after another trial, a jury declared him sane, and he was finally released. His freedom didn't last long. A few years later, he was arrested again for kidnapping and brutally whipping a 19-year-old boy. That sent him right back to an asylum until 1924. As for Evelyn Nesbit, she got her divorce, but she never saw the $1 million settlement she claimed the Thaw family promised her for her testimony. Her fame faded, and she spent the rest of her life in relative obscurity, marked by money problems and personal struggles, forever known as the girl in the red velvet suite.